June is Pride Month, and joining me now from Diversity Cornwall are Liz Kenville and Rebecca Forrester. Welcome.
Hi, Gabe.
All right, so first off, let's start for our viewers who may not be aware, what exactly is Pride Month?
Pride Month is celebrated the entire month of June to commemorate the Stonewall riots that began on June 28th, 1969. Those riots were in response to a horrific and dehumanizing police raid at the Stonewall Inn, which was a gay bar in Manhattan. Those riots are widely considered to be what led to the gay liberation movement and the modern fight for queer rights. It's especially important to mention right now that one of the leaders of that movement was Marsha P. Johnson, and she was a Black trans woman who would go on to become one of the most outspoken activists and a leader in the fight for the rights we have today. So basically, the first Pride was a riot, and Black Lives Matter.
All right. Now, obviously, I think we can hear it in your voice just how important this is, and we know that the rights that are enjoyed today by the LGBTQ plus community are because of this activism and Pride Month. So, talk to me about the importance of continuing to recognize Pride Month.
Pride Month is important for many reasons, but for me personally, it's important to remember where we came from and the sacrifices that were made for us to even be having this conversation right now. It's also an opportunity to celebrate love, diversity, and acceptance, and to help work towards normalizing the queer community so that hopefully someday we can stop fighting for rights and respect.
Absolutely. And Liz, maybe you can tell us why this is so important to yourself.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I would add that I feel like visibility is really important, especially in small communities like Cornwall. I think that we need to see other families like ours. We need to see ourselves reflected in our community to know that we aren't alone and that the community accepts us. So I think Pride is also really important just for visibility in the community.
Absolutely. Now we know, of course, that the COVID-19 crisis has really changed the way that we do things in a variety of areas, including affecting events that would normally happen during Pride Month. So maybe you can talk to me a little bit about that. And we know as well that that COVID-19 definitely is affecting communities in different ways. So maybe you can talk to me a little bit about how the unique challenges that are being faced by the LGBTQ plus community during this COVID-19 crisis and being in isolation.
Yeah, I think one of the most beautiful and important things about the LGBT community is the sense of belonging, and Diversity Cornwall, we strive really hard to bring people together to reduce isolation and foster that sense of community and belonging and inclusion, and to reduce isolation. We create spaces for people to be able to be themselves and to gather and to feel like they belong in our community, to see themselves and their families reflected in the community. And I think that's especially important during the pandemic because, you know, the isolation is really intense. Some people don't have a supportive family or a support system. People who are living alone, they really need that love and attention and that sense of community. And it's also extremely challenging for us as a board of Diversity Cornwall to find ways to foster that sense of community and that sense of belonging. We've had to cancel our 2020 Pride Festival, which was really, really hard for us. And we're trying to now, host virtual events to foster that sense of community, even though people are physically distancing, so we can find ways to be together even when we're apart. So we've hosted some events like a virtual movie night, and we have some more coming up, such as virtual story times. So we're still working really hard to build that sense of community and make sure that people don't feel alone and that they feel like they belong to our community, to the LGBTQ community, even though we can't be together right now.
Absolutely. And of course, it's important as well, not just for the community itself, but for everyone to become an ally and to support the movement, right? So talk to me about why it's important to be an ally and how we can become better allies.
Good question. Allies are incredibly important, especially if you're white and cisgendered, because that is who society tends to cater to and listen to when it comes to legislations, laws, and justice. So allies have the ability to make positive changes for the community while also helping to uplift queer voices and to help spread the message that love is love.
Absolutely. So you mentioned some events that are coming up. I know that there's a lot in the works. So what can you tell me right now about what's on the horizon?
So we have some queer story times or LGBTQ story times coming up. We're going to be hosting one this Sunday and continuing for on a weekly basis for the weeks that are coming up. We're also looking at hosting a virtual quiz night, and we're going to try and host some type of virtual or social distancing pride. We don't have all of the details yet, so please keep an eye on our Facebook page. We're also working to launch a new website, so keep an eye out for those things. We'll be sharing our events and activities there and the ways that we're planning on hosting a pride without necessarily being able to get together for a festival.
Excellent. And on that note, ladies, I'd like to thank you so much for joining me, talking a little bit about Pride Month. As you mentioned, it's the whole month, so we're going to try to do our best here at YourTv to help keep the conversation going all month. And we'll have you back and talk a little bit more about specific issues within the LGBTQ plus community. But for now, I'd like to thank you so much for joining me for this segment.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us, Gabe.